Took a musket ball in Chancellorsville.
Hi, I'm Mike Byer, Executive Director for Operation Song, where we pair Nashville's songwriters with veterans, active duty military, and their families to tell their stories through the process of songwriting. Our services are 100% free, and songwriting or musical talent is not required. For more information, check us out at operationsong.org. If you think this is something you're interested in, email us at contact@operationsong.org.
Till the last Monday in May.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Welcome to InSight to Fitness, where we prove that living a fit and healthy lifestyle is not only possible, but also incredibly rewarding for individuals who are blind or visually impaired. Produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, this podcast is your go-to resource for discovering fun and innovative ways to stay active and healthy. Join us as we explore new approaches to fitness and wellness, showing that limitations are just opportunities waiting to be transformed. Let's dive in and have some fun. From the studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, here are your hosts, Benjamin Keeley and Tyler Merren.
Hey, Keith, thank you very much for that great intro. You always make us look good here in the studio. We appreciate it. And Tyler, how are you today, man?
I am doing well, Ben. It's great to be back in the studio with you.
I appreciate it. And for our audience out there, thank you very much for coming back for our second episode. And today we got some exciting things going to us. Hey, I wanted to start off. When we were in our last episode, you were talking about when you were a personal trainer and things like that. And, you know, I was thinking the other night, I wanted to talk to you about it. How did that go, being, blind and the clients that you had when you were doing the personal training and stuff? Did anybody ever give you pushback, or how did they accept it? And, share that with us if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as I had mentioned before, growing up with a love of sports and being active and all of that, it was just an easy transition into teaching people about fitness and getting my bachelor's degree, getting certified in strength and conditioning and getting into that field. I just really enjoyed. I took to it well. But it was a question, right? It was always kind of how's this going to work? And I certainly was not the first blind trainer out there, but it's not a very common field for people who are blind to get into. So definitely felt like I was breaking ground. It's not like I had a mentor leading me through it per se. But, overall, the experience was fantastic. My approach generally, and this is kind of my approach to life anyway, but it was, give me 30 seconds. If you don't like what I have to say after 30 seconds, or you don't think I know what I'm talking about, then, feel free to walk. And I always just tried to present myself as a confident person. I, got a bigger voice and a bigger personality. And so, I tended to kind of win people over and not to pat myself on the back too much, but I think I was a pretty good trainer. So most of the time it worked out very, very, very well. And, Ben, it's interesting too, because in some ways there were advantages, give you some examples. So that a lot of trainers are going to visually monitor their clients, right? And check their positioning and things like that. But there are some things that are just hard to watch, right? Like you have to be hands-on, and you have to know what your client's doing when, and having your hands-on approach sometimes is even better. So obviously in a very professional way, but I would often be hands-on with my clients and making sure their core was engaged and their shoulders were lined up, their spine was neutral, and some things that can be hard to catch visually. So, it really ended up being a positive thing. My clients really appreciated it. I could help them get aligned better and just make sure that they were doing everything properly. And it turned out for the best. And I had one person, I didn't actually work with this person, hundreds of clients that I worked with, a lot of people I did evaluations with. And she was talking to me. She said, yeah, I was talking with my friends and we all agreed it'd be great to have you as a trainer because you wouldn't be able to see how overweight we are.
That's a good point there. But there's other things there.
Yeah. But it was cool. I had a pretty good reputation around the gym. I was sought out by a lot of people and helped a lot of people out. So it was, it worked out. I think it is what you make it, right, Ben?
Like everything, when you have to set your goals and then you have to live it and make what it is.
Absolutely.
That's
are there some inherent challenges to it? Yeah, for sure. Like there were definitely some hurdles I had to jump and some things I had to work around, stuff I had to figure out. But it is what you make it, and that's one of the big things that I continue to try to teach.
Well, I think it's very important. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk a little bit about that is, to show out there that to our audience there that you can do whatever you want to do, and you can be a trainer. You can, I run a business, and not only at one time when I was before my kidney transplant, I was actually on dialysis. So I would go to dialysis at 5:00 in the morning, and then I'd get out of dialysis and I'd go work on a ship. And at the same time, I'm in kidney failure and blind at the same time. So you can do whatever you need to do, and hopefully this series that we're working on is going to show you how to be more healthy and how to achieve your goals. And I appreciate you sharing that story with us. Hey, quick question: how are we doing on the practice and the training for the Olympics? How's that going?
I'm super excited about it. As of the recording of this podcast, the team for the summer 2024 Paris Games has not yet been announced. The 6 guys that will represent the men's USA goalball team. So we're still in the tryout phase, but feeling pretty good. It is a lot keeping all of these plates spinning. So that's probably my biggest challenge right now is all the different things that we have going on. And recently you just found out, Ben, I'm going to be a grandpa for the first time. So
congratulations.
Isn't that crazy?
That's great. Well, congrats.
I'm very excited. We're very excited. So lots going on, and the Paris 2024 games are only about 5 months away. So
yeah.
Lots and lots of work to be done, but very excited as we pursue those. I should find out in about 6 weeks here whether or not I made the cut.
Well, you have to keep us, as we record throughout the rest of the summer and everything, you have to keep us informed of what we're doing and how you're doing on that.
Will do. Yeah, will do. It's going to be a crazy summer, so
yeah.
If you want to join me on the ride, better buckle in.
Well, we're buckled in and we're ready for you to share that with us. It was funny, I was working with my wife the other day. We're planning the summer vacation, and we're going to Europe, and we were going to try and go into Paris. And then we were looking at the calendar, and I heard the news, and they're talking about the Paris Olympics. And I'm like, and I realized that would not be a good time for me to be going to Paris because we're going the middle of July, coming back at the end of August. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go around Paris.
Yeah.
We went to Paris last year and they were on strike. So.
Oh boy.
So
it's going to be a busy time around that time frame. So
well, I wish
if you can avoid it.
I wish you luck, and I hope that you share with the audience how things are going, and maybe when you're over there you can get some pictures, and maybe we could do a little spot with you over there on during the games. So
I'd like that. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, so it looks good. So let's talk about what you and I were talking about, setting goals and how you get started setting your goals, and what's achieved, such as your workouts and diet and all of that stuff. So say that we had a goal, say I wanted to build the strength on my legs so I can stop using my walker and go back to the cane. how would I go about starting that, and what do I need to do to achieve my goals?
I think it's a great question, right? And I think that the first thing I like to teach people about is there are kind of two main types of goals that you can set, right? And so I think in order to frame this properly, we should start there. So you generally can break these down into what's called performance goals versus procedural goals. So a performance goal is just as you said, Ben. It's a I want to be able to walk without my walker, or I want to be able to do 20 push-ups. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to be able to run 3 miles in less than 30 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. It's a finite line, right? It's a do or do not kind of thing that has an end game. And then you have that as kind of a marker, right? This is the direction that we're aiming. Now, a procedural goal is more of the vehicle that's going to get you there, right? In order to accomplish my performance goal, I'm going to, 4 times a week, I'm going to get up at 7:00 and I'm going to do this list of exercises or what have you, right? Like, and there's not really an end game to that. It's really just like I'm going to keep doing these indefinitely until I choose to do otherwise. I've met my performance goal. It's an ongoing thing to get you to that end point. So I think that's a good place to start off to think like there's kind of these two different sets of goals that we want to think about as we move forward. And so when we start off with that performance goal, because again, that's kind of the way to set direction, right? The first thing to consider with those, if you heard the acronym SMART for goal setting, Ben, are you familiar with how that works?
Share that with us, please.
Yeah. So the SMART acronym is specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and timely. And I've seen a few different words kind of mixed in there, but it all kind of boils down to the same thing. So you think about this performance goal, right? Of you being able to walk without your walker. So we look at it. Is it specific? Right? It's like, yes, I want to be able to walk around without the assistance of a walker. It's pretty specific, right? And that is a very like direct goal that you're going to have. Measurable, again, it's very like objective. It's can you do it or can you not do it? And you might be able to add in a few other details like what does walking mean to you? Is it just getting up from the kitchen table and going to the refrigerator, or is it taking a walk around the block, right? So maybe something you could dig into a little bit more. Attainable is the one that I really like to focus on. That's a good place to start when we're talking about these performance goals.
So
for you, Ben,
didn't mean to interrupt, but doesn't that measurable? A lot of people get tied up in that when they're talking about wanting to go on a diet and lose weight and stuff like that. That becomes hard, right?
It can, yeah, it can, and that's where this like the attainable can kind of help lay that out and analyze it better. And so when we talk about that measurable, we want to think like, is this really attainable? Is this really something that makes sense for me to aim for at the level that I'm at? So for you being able to walk around without your walker, it sounds like to me from you and I talking, you've progressed over there. Like you've started to become more mobile. You've gone through some physical therapy and some training. And so you have improved yourself to the point of being able to mobilize yourself with a walker. Am I correct in that?
That is correct. Yes.
You're right. So the idea of you taking a next kind of micro step, if you will, and being able to move around without the walker, perhaps at short distances, that seems like an attainable goal, right? For you to say like, I want to be able to run a marathon, in the next several months, like that's not really in the cards at the moment.
Oh, you mean so I can't like go for the football, selection process and trying to be that quarterback?
The NFL draft is it's already in process, Ben. I know.
Oh,
I
I
you're
missed
looking
it.
at
Geez.
So I never like to come in and say, like, no, there's no way you can't do that. But, we want to be kind to ourselves. We want to look at our goals and say, this is really achievable. And I think aiming just a little higher each time and progressing slowly is really one of the best ways to start this journey. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? If you think about those 1,000 miles all in one bundle, it's overwhelming. So you take it little bites at a time. So I think that's a great way to think about it and to start off with.
Well, great. So what, as you heard, the producers like chomping that it's time for us to go check in to the studio there. But when we get back, why don't we talk about that goal and maybe set some things that I can do to achieve, and then maybe invite our guests to come up with their own objective and come up with a time frame, and let's see what we can do. We'll be right back. So everybody stick with us. We'll be right back.
Wisdom for the Blind is dedicated to doing everything we can for the blind and sight impaired. If you'd like to bless us with a donation to keep the website, the podcast, the webinars, and the radio station operating, we can't express how grateful we'd be. You can go to the website at w4tb.org. That's4tb.org, and hit the donation button. Or you can mail it to Wisdom for the Blind Incorporated. Attention donations. 1005 Marine Mile Boulevard, Suite 255, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33315. Wisdom for the Blind is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Remember, it's tax deductible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Wisdom for the Blind.
Looking for a fitness app that is accessible for the blind? Well, look no further. Revision Fitness is just what the trainer ordered. This audio and text-based fitness program has a wide selection of fitness options, including cardio, strength, yoga, balance, flexibility, and even progressive relaxation sessions. Download Revision Fitness on the App Store or Google Play, or visit revisionfitnessapp.com and get a free 14-day trial for new users. Find your fit with Revision Fitness. And as always,
Revision Fitness.
Let's change the way we look at it.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back, everybody. Ben, we are still here.
Yep, we're still here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's on the docket next?
Well, so, we talked about basically trying to get off the walker would be, an objective. And I'm thinking maybe if somebody out there in the audience has something that they'd like to try and do, maybe we could, as we get on throughout the rest of the year, we can set a goal. So what I was thinking about, if you think it's a good idea, I was thinking for me to make a commitment to you and to my family and to our guests, I'm going to try and get off the walker by October 27th, the cruise.
I was going to say that date sounds very familiar.
So what do you think?
I like it. I really like it a lot. And you knowing your own body and knowing your own level and limitations, only you can really sit back and analyze that and say, you know what, this is a goal. This is something I can do. But I like it. It sounds very reasonable to me. Gives you plenty of time to work yourself into it. And yeah, I think it's great. So
it meets in that SMART acronym, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say you took our first segment to heart. Nice job.
All right.
So yeah, I like it a lot, and so for anybody listening right now, I think that Ben, you're setting a great example in that again, you're not talking about winning Mr. Universe right now. You're not talking about running a marathon. You're
Geez,
talking
come
about
on.
yeah, well, down the road, right? And but you're setting something that's realistic and meaningful to yourself, right? I think that's
yes.
another really important thing. We talked a little bit about the A of the SMART acronym, attainable, and when we talk about R, making it relative. Think about the advantages that you'll have in not having to use the walker.
Very much
and
so,
the
yeah.
impact that'll have on your life, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. And, we were talking about our trips to, in the summer and stuff like that. It'd be a lot easier to walk around than to have to roll around,
Absolutely. So when we look at that R in the SMART acronym, making sure that it's relative to you. There were a lot of times people would come into the gym and work with me, and they say, "I want to lose 20 pounds," and it's like, okay, well, why? What does that do for you? What does that mean to you, right? And you start digging down a little bit, and really, what it is they actually are there's a lot of diabetes in the family, and they are really worried about getting diabetes and having bad knees and things like that. So it's not so much that they want to lose the 20 pounds, it's that they want to avoid some of those things. Like you dig down deeper and you really find what's relative and meaningful to somebody. So that's important as you guys think about setting these goals. Keep it attainable, but make sure it's something that you will feel like you'll see a big impact from. So just a little side note for you.
It sounds good. So I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to challenge our group and our listeners that if there's a goal that they want to achieve, that they can match it and try and achieve that by the cruise. So if you have something that you want to achieve, why don't you write us, or, via email, and that could be at info@w4tb.org. That's info@w4tb.org, and just say, this is my goal for InSight to Fitness, and we'll read it on the radio and, share that and get your progress report. So you can join us. You can join me in my challenge, and Tyler's going to be our support guy and help us adjust as we go through this little journey. What do you think, guy?
You're starting a movement, Ben. Starting a movement, man.
Let's do it.
I like it.
So that's what we're going to do. So if you got a challenge that you want to meet for yourself, let us know what it is so we can share it and work together as a team and achieve our brothers and sisters, so we all are there cheering everybody on. So what do you think the first things that I need to do to get there?
So, whatever the goal might be. So, focusing in on again, Ben, your goal of kind of going without the walker. I think the first step is to think, okay, well, what are the things that are limiting that at the moment? Is it my leg strength? Is it my back and posture strength? Is it my balance? And so I think like trying to list out some of those barriers. Okay, so let's say, for example, for you, Ben, it's some leg strength. So how do we start building up strength in the legs? Well, there are certainly no limit to exercises that can be done. Once again, we got to think about things that are kind of within the wheelhouse, right? So, it's possible that something like if you have a tall chair that you are comfortable standing up and sitting down from, doing chair sits. Okay, I'm gonna say, 4 times a week, I've got a regiment of sitting in this chair slowly, controlled, and as soon as I'm lightly touching the chair, I'm going to stand back up, right? And I'm doing this to kind of build up the strength of the legs so that my muscles are going to fire better and be more stable.
And how many reps would you do at a time? Like 10 at a time?
Yeah, and I think that depends a little bit, again, on your current capacity. But generally, you're probably looking for an exercise where you can manage 12 to 15 repetitions. And so if that means like that particular motion for you is really challenging to do 15 times, then what needs to happen is you have to look for a modification of that exercise. And modification of exercise is a really, really crucial concept for anybody at any level. So modifying exercise to make it easier or modifying an exercise to make it harder to fit your current strength level and target goal of, say, again, 12 to 15 repetitions. So again, example, sitting down, standing up. Let's say that's a tricky business for you. Putting that chair next to, something sturdy like a door frame or a doorknob, the edge of a counter, something that's not going to move, where you can not only use your legs to kind of do that standing motion, but you can brace your hands on something and kind of use your arms to lift as well. So give a little assistance that way, and that modifies the exercise and makes it more attainable for your legs, right? So yeah, 3-4 times a week, you're doing, 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 15 sit stands, standing all the way up, getting that back nice and straight, head up super high, legs solid, and then sitting back down, standing back up. That'll lend itself towards starting to build up the strength in the legs. And as that becomes easy, then you modify again. You start sitting down lower. Maybe it's an adjustable chair. You can drop it an inch or two. Maybe, you get to the point where you don't need that extra support with the arms. Maybe you start holding on to some light weights, a couple cans of soup or something like that, just something little to begin with. So you slowly start to build that strength up over time.
That sounds good. So not only is it my legs, but I also feel balance is an issue. And I don't know, before COVID, I walked around with a cane, and I wasn't as fearful as falling as I am now. And, I think that, I'm scared that I'm going to fall, and I'm also concerned, because I'm not as steady as I used to be.
Sure. And safety is number one, right? Doesn't do you any good to try to get healthy and fit and in that process fall and injure yourself, right? You're just setting yourself back. So balance is a whole nother realm that we want to take a look at. So when I was working as a full-time trainer and now teaching clients that I still work with from time to time and the fitness program, the revision fitness program, one of the models that I teach is called the 4Q model of exercise, the 4-quadrant model of exercise. And generally, you can take most all fitness activities and break them down into these 4 categories. And some will overlap into multiple, but the 4 quadrants that you have are strength is one, endurance is the second one, flexibility the third, and the fourth is balance, right? So when you think about optimal health and fitness, you want to think, okay, I need to try to target each one of these areas. I met a lot of guys at the gym who were wildly strong, right? Benching 300 pounds, but they couldn't touch their toes to save their life. They couldn't stand on one foot. They're just big, meaty guys, right? And then I also met, endurance runners who could run for miles, but had very little upper body strength and poor posture and things like that. They didn't have a lot of flexibility, so it really, a balanced approach to all of these categories is crucial. So, in your case, Ben, we talk about, okay, how do we improve that balance? So we go back to our examples of, that sit stand. Now we can find some sort of stable surface, again, a door frame, the edge of a counter, something that's going to be pretty strong. Standing next to it, holding onto it for support, you can raise one foot off the ground and try to hold there for a second, then bring it back down. You're talking 5-6 seconds maybe to start with. You repeat that 10 times. And then you switch sides. You hold on to the other, with the other hand, you lift the foot up. You try to keep your balance as best you can, put that foot down. But you follow what I'm saying. You got some support, but you're challenging your balance little by little. And that progresses into, okay, I'm going to lift my foot up and I'm just going to hover my hand over top of this, the edge of this countertop that I'm supporting. And if I need to, I can put my hand right back down, but I'm going to, 5 seconds or so and then put my foot back down, and I'm not going to touch anything unless I absolutely need it. And then that progresses into, lifting the knee up higher and holding it longer. And that progresses into kind of balancing on the left foot while you swing the right foot forward and back gently like a pendulum, and that progresses into all these other things. So it's a slow build that is easily done, almost no equipment required, just a little bit of consistency, right? Doing that, you could do that 4 or 5 times a week easily, 2-3 times a day even, to work on that balance.
So basically, what you're doing is you're giving your body an opportunity to build those muscles back up in different areas by the sit and stands, and also the movement of your knees coming up. You're building that muscle back to where it
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
I got it. Yeah.
And even one of the workouts in the Revision Fitness program, there's actually a yoga balance workout, and there's, as most of the workouts have, there's a beginner and an advanced level. The beginner level, the very first exercise we start off with, is literally standing in one place with your feet close together. So narrowing your base, right? And to most people, that sounds overly simple, right? Like that doesn't even sound like it'd be hard to balance. But for some, it might be, right? So you begin there, and you have your hand ready to grab something as needed, but you work on balancing yourself with just your feet close together. Then you work on balancing one foot in front of the other. So both feet are on the ground, but it's like you're standing on a narrow line. You're on a balance beam, right? And you'd be surprised how wobbly you might be with one foot stacked right in front of the other. So it's just finding that appropriate level and challenging yourself on a consistent basis, right? We get back to that procedural goal idea of, just doing this, twice a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week. And the frequency kind of depends on the intensity of the exercise. You don't want to lift heavy weights 7 times a week because it's just too intense for your body. But something like walking, practicing balancing exercises, doing some chair sits, those can be done almost every day without negative effects on your body.
That's perfect. So I can see how that's going. You mentioned your fitness app. Can you tell us a little bit, if people want to go to look at that? That has a bunch of things also, right?
It does, yeah. So Revision Fitness, so capital R, lowercase e, capital V. So it's a little bit of a play on words, right? Revision Fitness. But you can search Google Play or the App Store, and you can find Revision Fitness, download that. You can also go to revisionfitnessapp.com. Free to sign up, and all new users get a 14-day free trial to check out all the material. It's completely accessible for the blind. It's all audio and text-based. And there are some workouts in there that I think could be really beneficial for those listening in the audience today. So definitely some more advanced ones, but there's a few beginner-level workouts that could be very helpful, especially as you build up your strength and stamina. There's a knee-friendly cardio workout, for example. There's a beginner-level yoga balance and a few other things like that I think could be really beneficial.
I'm going to have to definitely start using that, because I'm real serious about my goal here, and we're going to achieve that. And hopefully our audience out there is going to join us and come up with their own goals. So
that'd be great.
2 exercises that I got, the sit and stand, and then the leg lift. What else do you think we need to do?
Well, I think you always want to circle back to what the exact thing is that you're aiming for, right? So that specific level of training. So in your case, pretty straightforward. You need to walk, right? You need to walk as much as you're able to. And, there's different ways that you could approach this, right? For example, if you have a treadmill, right? A treadmill could be a good opportunity for you to practice walking where you have some support around you. You can hold on to the handles as needed. But that, again, almost like the balance, that's an opportunity where you got the belt moving at a very light pace, right? And you have an opportunity to maybe take a step or two without holding on, right? You can have your hands hovering over the handles, and you can practice taking some steps that way. Or you're, out with your walker, you've got a safe, smooth path to walk outside, and you're going to practice as you're walking with the walker, but every 20 feet or so, you're going to pick the walker up an inch or two, and you're going to walk 2 or 3 steps on your own, right? So you're right there ready to put the walker back down and balance as needed, but you are practicing a few steps here and there. And then that just grows, right? Again, 2 or 3 steps turns into 5 or 6 steps, turns into 50 feet, turns into I'm walking without the walker,
That's
so
great. Yeah, good ideas.
little bites at a time.
Very cool. Is diet going to be important to your strength, like water and intake of other things?
There's really not any fitness goal out there that is not impacted by nutrition, right? You've heard the saying, you are what you eat. And I think it's an oversimplification, but it's kind of true, right? If you fill your body with junk, then you're going to feel like junk. And it's just kind of how it goes. Life, you expose yourself to negative things, it affects you. Your body absorbs that stuff. So yeah, nutrition is going to be really important. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to gain strength, if you're trying to be more mobile or increase your flexibility, this takes time and it takes resources for your body to remodel itself and rebuild and repair. That takes nutrition. It takes proper amount of protein. It takes good carbohydrates. It takes good fats, and it takes water and sleep and all of those things that your body needs to recover. So yeah, nutrition is going to be a big part of this.
Oh, great. Well, I think it's time for us to take another quick little break. If you guys will stay with us, we'll be right back and come up with some more plans, and hopefully we'll be able to achieve this. And when everybody sees me in October, everybody's going to be surprised. We'll be right back.
Do you enjoy a good read? Or do you enjoy sharing new books with friends? Then join us on the second Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Wisdom Books, a virtual book club just for the blind or visually impaired. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, go to w4tb.org and click the link Wisdom Books for more information. And please don't forget to share the wisdom.
Veterans deserve as much help as they can get. They put their lives on the line for their country, and yet there's still an ongoing mental health crisis among military veterans that needs to be addressed. Well, if you're a veteran who wants the support of fellow veterans and to support fellow veterans, join Wisdom for the Blind's Cup of Joe virtual coffee and chat. It's low-key, fun, and gives veterans an outlet to talk with others who fully understand what they're going through. Get connected at Wisdom for the Blind's website, w4tb.org/cupofjoe.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
All right. Well, we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. And we're going to be getting a little bit more into the dietary and the nutrients that we were talking before the break. What is it true that carbs and all this, too many carbs and turns into sugar and all of that, and the pyramid stuff, and talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a really common question, and nutrition is, at least to me, it's kind of the wild west in some ways, right? There's so many pieces of information out there, so many camps. This group says only eat meat, and this group says never eat meat, and it's pretty wild, right? And even like marketing and societal pressures. Margarine for the longest time was like the world's answer to obesity, and we've since learned that margarine is really terrible for you and contributes to weight gain in different ways. It's So it's something we're just always learning about and progressing with. So I guess, Ben, I would begin by saying, I'm not a registered dietitian. Anything that comes out on this podcast is just general advice, and it's always important to check with your personal care physician or a registered dietitian before, making big decisions on this stuff.
And that's for sure. And, remember, if you're a veteran, the VA has a lot of great dietitians that will be glad to help you.
Absolutely. And that is a great place to start. And I would encourage people to use that resource because it can be very individualized. Having said that, though, I think there are some good general rules of thumb that we can all generally agree on and adhere to that will promote better health, especially when we're thinking about this journey, right, of improving our capacity, improving our health and fitness. So I think the first thing is, and this is something we talked a lot about at 24 Hours, something I tend to teach people, is the idea of eating closer to the source. And it's a catchphrase to say, the more natural it is, the more whole food like it is, generally speaking, the better it is for you, because the more processed a food is, the less nutrients it tends to retain. There's always going to be exceptions to this rule. So I don't want to go through this and be like, yeah, except, but it is fair to note, like, vegetables, for example, like it's great to eat raw vegetables. There are those out there who are very sensitive to raw vegetables. So eating cooked vegetables, much easier for them to digest, and you're still getting a lot of nutrients out of that. So as I say these things like eat closer to the source, don't think I'm saying like, well, you should never have frozen vegetables or cooked vegetables or, canned vegetables. Like, it's great to get those things in, and more than anything, finding the practical application that works for you is really important. Does that make sense, Ben? I want to make sure I'm...
No, it makes total sense to me. And, there's all kinds of different ways. But one of the things to remember is that, you can have vegetables, but then when you start pouring butter and cheese and all that other stuff, you're going in the opposite direction. So...
Right, you're processing it a little bit more, and on top of that, I think like people have this idea, right? Like, I need to eat more vegetables, but somebody says to them, "Oh yeah, but you shouldn't eat frozen vegetables because that kills all the nutrients." And I was like, "Well, no, that's not true. First of all, is walking out into the garden in your backyard and picking a pepper right off the plant and eating it, does that have more nutrients for you? Technically, yes, but getting vegetables in you in any case is going to be beneficial, right? So that's the thing. I don't want people to come away from this thinking that, they need to stress about these things. It's really important to find your fit with this. So yeah, eating closer to the source, it, generally speaking, is better for you. As things are processed, more canning salts are added to things and more sugar are added to things. You just have to watch out for that. And things are marketed so well. You can go and buy these protein bars off the shelf and they're shelf stable for years and years, and they're marketed as super healthy. They got pictures of these fit athletes on the front, and it's just a lot of marketing. And so, reach for whole fruits and vegetables, lean meats, and even breads. Your question about carbs, right? Carbs are not your enemy. Carbohydrates are an essential resource in your body. Now, technically, you can live without carbs. You can go carbohydrate free. Your body will break down and utilize fat as a resource. It's called ketosis, which is where the keto diet comes in. But really, it's generally a poor long-term strategy because it's technically a survival mechanism. Your body's starving of resources, so it starts to break down its stores, and it just generally doesn't add up for a lot of people. I do know some people who have done the keto diet and they feel really great on it, and hats off to them. Not always the most successful thing though, and it's hard for people to stick with. So, again, we've got the scientific application of it and then the practical application. That's important to think about those two avenues.
Then you got the Irish version. We love potatoes, we love bread.
Yes, sir. The good old Irish, my favorite.
So we just have to do it with control.
Right. And to each their own. I personally think that potatoes are great. Potatoes have, yes, they are starchy, right? A lot of carbs in those, but there's so many good vitamins and phytonutrients in potatoes that I actually encourage people to eat potatoes. So there you go. You can dig into your Irish roots all you'd like, Ben, because that is.
Great. I look forward to it now.
Now, when you start adding all the butter and other things like that, then we have a little bit more of a different story. But
well, I don't think there's much butter in shepherd's pie. You know?
That's it.
It's got the vegetables. It's got the protein.
There you go. Now you're thinking. So yeah, this idea of eating closer to the source, eating a variety of foods. I'm not a really big fan of any type of plan that says, okay, absolutely no carbohydrates or absolutely no fats or, never eat these things. 90% of the time, I think it's really important. Like I said, eat a little closer to the source. Lots of fruits and vegetables, lean meats, things like that. But the stress sometimes that people can get into by being so uptight about their nutrition is almost more negatively impactful on their health, right? I used to tell my clients, like, you're kidding yourself if you say, I'm never going to have a piece of pizza again. I'm never going to eat any birthday cake or ice cream. You're going to find yourself at somebody's birthday party and they're going to hand you a piece of cake, and it's just out there. It's fine. Like, those are the moments that you shouldn't stress about. But when you're in your own kitchen and you have control over it, adhering to some of these general rules are a good idea. And there's definitely more information that I provide, more of these guidelines and general rules on the Revision Fitness app as well.
Oh, that's very cool. And we really need to come up with your plan of what you want to achieve. And we need to look at the exercise part of it and also the dietary part of it. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I do have a question for you. You always hear, like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Don't eat past bedtime, 2 hours before bedtime. Is there really a direction that you should look at in these, these sayings that people are coming up with all the time?
I think that there's a lot of little facets to this. So when people talk about breakfast as the most important meal of the day, I don't personally think that's true. I think breakfast is very important, but I think that it's important in that a lot of times breakfast will set your day on a particular path, and that might be one of the reasons that it's referred to as such. You get up in the morning, if the first thing you start with is a Pop-Tart and a cup of cream-filled coffee, you're not setting yourself up for a ton of success for that day. You get up in the morning and I know I'm ruining your routine. You get up in the morning though, and you have a smoothie, some whole wheat toast, maybe a little bit of butter on it. You make yourself a couple of hard-boiled eggs, you have some cucumbers and something with it. Like, you're giving your body some good nutrients to start off with, and in a way it sets the tone for your day. So if you're going to say, like, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, in that sense I would probably agree with it. But in general, your body just needs fuel throughout the day. So I think lunch is really important. I think dinner is really important. I think that snacking throughout the day can be very important as well. Eating, you mentioned, like, not eating past a certain time. There is this kind of trend out there where it's like, I don't eat anything past 6 p.m. and it's great, and I've lost weight. It's a little bit of a parlor trick, because typically when people don't eat past 6 p.m., they've really, what they've done is they've restricted their calories. It doesn't have a ton to do with the timing, but it has a lot more to do with mindfully eating. And I think that's another big area that's important for us to talk about, right? You're not always going to have all the answers. Is this slice of bread okay? Or, is this timing of eating this okay? sometimes it's going to be confusing. You're going to get mixed answers. You're going to have questions. But if you are mindfully and intentionally approaching your nutrition, you're starting off on the right foot. Look at your food and decide, why am I eating this food? And am I eating this food because it seems very nutrient dense? It's good for me. It's an appropriate time to eat. I'm fueling my body. I'm going to take my time and enjoy this food. Are you eating it because you're stressed and you're looking for some comfort, right? Are you eating it because it's a social event and it's a social activity? And again, there's nothing wrong with those things. It's just recognizing a little bit of the mental connection to your nutrition. That's a big area too. And another great reason to work with a dietitian and maybe even a counselor in certain circumstances where people may struggle with their food habits.
Well, that's some great information. And again, I do want to point out that the VA, for our veterans out there, have some great programs. They got the MOVE program. They've got dietitians, everything to support, some of the things that we're talking about today. But, what we've gone through, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to taking the exercises that you shared with us, the exercises that I get from my leg therapist, and looking at, what I put in my mouth. You are what you eat, and just focusing a little bit more on that, and maybe push away from the chocolate cake, I guess. That's, but I think it might be
more
worth
intentional, right?
Yeah. But I remember a TV show talking about the morning breakfast. Chocolate cake had eggs and had bread and milk. That was a great breakfast. But I don't.
And
think
then about 6 pounds of sugar, right? Like
that's right. But no, that's very cool. So we're getting ready to wrap up. In our plan, I'm excited for my goal. During one of the breaks, I did jump in there, and my starting weight as of today is 226 pounds. And not only off the walker, I want to try and get down, because I know that the more weight that I lose, the easier it is to carry that weight around. And
right.
So I'm going to try and get to 199 and off the walker by October 27th. Are you out there wanting to do something? You want to get a goal for yourself? Share it with us. info@w4tb.org. What else we need to talk about before we wrap up and send it to the studio, my friend?
I think that I'd love to wrap up with the idea that we touched on a lot of topics today, very, very broad strokes. Man, there's some major rabbit holes that we could go down on so many topics today.
But they got to come back, so.
I think so, right? So I want to leave with this idea that if it feels overwhelming to you, number one, know that that's pretty normal. Like, lots of people will get that sense, right? They'll feel overwhelmed. They'll feel like, man, where do I even get started? So, don't let that paralyze you. One step at a time, right? Just be intentional about one piece of your nutrition or one type of exercise to add in, one new healthy activity you can make a part of your regular routine, and just be kind to yourself through the process. Why do we even care to address our health and fitness? Why does it even matter? Well, it matters because we want to feel healthy. We want to take care of ourselves. And the exact opposite of that is getting super stressed about what you're eating and where your fitness level is, and mentally beating yourself up over this stuff, right? That's not the goal. So I would just encourage everybody to think on it and be intentional about it, and be kind to yourself through the process.
Well, that's some good words. Well, we're going to run to the studio to get checked in with Allie, and then we're going to be back after that just to close. So stick with us. We'll be right back after the studio, and thank you very much for all the stuff that you shared with me today, buddy.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Ben. And to our listeners, thank you for dropping in today to listen to InSight to Fitness, where we bring you up-to-date knowledge of hot topics. Now to our first story. The NBA playoffs are well underway, and this year's matchups are nothing short of exciting. In the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder are set to battle the New Orleans Pelicans, the Clippers will battle the Mavericks, the Timberwolves will go up against the Suns, and the Nuggets will go up against the Lakers. In the East, we have the Celtics versus the Heat, the Cavaliers versus the Orlando Magic, the Bucks versus the Pacers, and the New York Knicks versus the 76ers. This year's playoffs will have us all at the edge of our seats as there is a mix of young and old talent. This should be a fun and competitive battle for all teams involved. In our next order of business, which is technology, new technology is being developed that will make organ transplants easier and better, along with saving many more lives. Researchers are making compromised organs more viable, which will save lives. The technology that is being used is called organ perfusion, which ultimately conducts the process of thoroughly cleansing the organs. Moving on to politics. The House of Representatives have just passed a bill that would ban the popular social media app TikTok. With this bill being passed, a few things can happen. Either the app will undergo new ownership or the app will just simply be banned in the United States. TikTok is currently under a China-based owner, and if he does not sell the stakes of TikTok within a year, the app will be banned. Next steps include the bill being passed onto the Senate, where the bill is also expected to be passed. That's all for today's news. This has been Ellie from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios. Back to you, Ben.
Living with vision impairment means you need as many advantages as you can get, which is why Wisdom for Blind Youth will be providing a monthly Zoom-like event aimed at helping vision impaired or blind youth 17 or under. Various topics related to children will be discussed. Remember, the earlier someone gets help for their vision impairment, the more they can develop strategies for navigating life. Get signed up today. Go online to w4tb.org/treehouse. And don't forget to share the wisdom and to tell a friend.
Thousands of brave men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces have given their eyesight in defense of our freedom. And the Blinded Veterans Association wants to give them their freedom back. But it needs your help. Go to bva.org to find out about how BVA's free programs, services, advocacy, and more help America's heroes to not just deal with the emotional and physical issues of sudden sight loss or impairment, but actually work to get them back to the independent lives they deserve to live. Go to bva.org today.
You're listening to W4TB Radio from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we share some wisdom to help you navigate the seas to stay in calm waters. Please visit us on the web at w4tb.org or drop us an email at feedback@w4tb.org. You can also download the W4TB radio app at the Apple Store or Google Play. Please share the knowledge and tell a friend. Now, back to the show.
Allie, thank you very much for that great news and the emails that we received back in the studio. And Tyler, thank you very much for sticking with us. And I think this has been a great segment. And I look forward to working on my goal and sharing it with you and our audience. And coming back in our next episode. And hopefully next episode, you're going to share with us how we're doing with the trials and the progress to Paris.
Yeah, it sounds like we both may have some updates for the next go around. So we'll both come in and share with everybody. And like I said, you're starting a movement here, Ben. This will be good.
That's what we're doing. We're sharing the wisdom for everybody out there. Remember that just because you're blind or vision impaired doesn't mean that you can't get around and enjoy life. Also want to remind everybody that October 27th, when you guys are going to see the achievement that I'm working for, our keynote speaker is you. You're going to be joining us, right?
That's me. That is it, man. That's the plan. So yeah, looking forward to it. I'm excited to be there to present some more of these ideas and work with all of you and see if we can support each other going forward into a better, healthier community.
Well, I look forward to it, and I hope your goal ball trials are going well. And before we wrap up, why don't you share with our listeners the website and the app one more time?
For sure. So if you're looking for some accessible resources for fitness, you can go to revisionfitnessapp.com, app.com. or you can go to Google Play or the App Store and download Revision Fitness. 2 weeks, 14 days, you get a free trial for new users. You can check out all the material that we have on there. There's exercise descriptions, there's audio workouts, fitness guides, fitness plans, all kinds of great resources. I'm currently working on some updates that will add a few new functions and features that you'll definitely want to check out. So download it, check it out. There's a contact us button in the app that sends an email directly to me. And so anybody who wants to give it a shot, anybody who wants to try it out, you get a little extra time because you caught it on this podcast. So you can hit that button, send me any questions you would like, but if you send me the code WT
W4TB.
4T. I can't even speak now. I'm all discombobulated.
Oh, you were taking after me
WT.
this morning.
Yeah.
The intro.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, we're good. W4TB. You send me that, I will add another 2 weeks. So you get a month free on the program. And then if you choose to join the program after that, it really is a very reasonable subscription, monthly or annually. And that just supports the program, helps me to keep adding more accessible content as we go. So I'd encourage folks to check it out, share it, try it out, give me some feedback, and hopefully it'll be a resource to help you along with your goals.
Well, great. Thanks for sharing us. And thanks again for being with me. Congratulations on your grandfather there, and share that with your wife. And everybody remember, w4tb.org is our website. You can check out all the other events, the other podcasts we have. We have some user groups, a Cup of Joe, which is a great opportunity to come meet other people in the same realm as us. And hopefully you'll join us again for our next episode. Once again, this is Tyler and Ben from the Wisdom for the Blind Studios in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Christina Hepner.
And I'm Leslie Hoskins, and we're hosts of the Taking the Lead podcast from Leader Dogs for the Blind.
Our podcast provides insight into the blindness community and impactful stories from our clients.
At Leader Dog, we continue to be the answer for thousands who need our free services. These include guide dog training, white cane training, and more. Once clients complete training, they're reintroduced to a life of safety and independence.
Learn more at leaderdog.org.
Are you a big geek? Do you enjoy learning about new technology? Then join us on the fourth Thursday of every month for the Wisdom Geek Club at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also hear a pre-recorded episode on Wisdom Radio every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, hit up w4tb.org and click on the Geek Club button on the main page. And don't forget to share the wisdom with a friend.
You've been listening to InSight to Fitness, produced by Wisdom for the Blind and VNS Productions, a division of VNS International. Being blind or unsighted doesn't mean you can't live an active, healthy lifestyle. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, visit the website at w4tb.org. Don't forget to share the wisdom and tell a friend.